everyone, it's me again, Brittany, and I'm here today to film my wrap-up for February. I know, it's only like the second week of March. I'm sure you didn't expect this until next month because I suck at making videos, but whatever. So yeah, let's kind of jump into it. I don't want to hear anything because I'm gonna wear this exact outfit to show you my TBR in my next video. I'm still debating whether I want to combine them or not, but I'm pretty sure I just want them separate because I just talk so much that when I combine videos, they just end up being like 30 minutes long, so yeah. Let's jump into it. I did read 4 books, well, 3 books and a novella this month. I'm actually pretty pleased with that because for the most part I felt like I did pretty bad, but that's better than last month, so we're moving up in the world. I hope you guys enjoy my stack of books. I still haven't had time to rearrange my bookshelves and fit them in, so now they're stacked. Let's go into the books that I read. I actually did read The Wicked King first this month, but I don't want to talk about it until after because I reread it. So, I mean, technically I read 5 books. Isn't that crazy? Wow. But I mean, one of them was twice. So yeah, let's kind of get into it. The first book that I officially read this month was The Lost Sisters, which is the novella that goes before The Wicked King. I actually read The Wicked King before I read the novella, but then after reading the novella, I realized that I had to reread The Wicked King to just kind of understand more where Taryn was coming from and just the whole point of view. It's a very short novella. It took me like maybe 20 minutes. So yeah, I actually gave it 4 stars. I did enjoy it. I just feel like I wanted it to add more to the story than it did. I expected it to just give me this whole new layer of the world and Taryn and everything that had happened in between that time, but I was expecting too much from it. It's really just like Taryn's point of view, trying to prepare to talk to her sister about the events that happened in the first book. It was still really good though. I feel like it gave me a lot of background on Taryn and just sort of understanding her better, and it also did give me a little more of the world because she does talk about stories in it a lot that I think their maids told them about, or just in general, like there are stories in the fairy world and she talks about them and I really enjoyed them. I feel like it's just, I don't know, it gave me just that extra bit of background on the situation, even though like I know technically the stories that she wasn't talking about isn't what the story is based off of, but like it definitely could have been. So now let's talk about The Wicked King by Holly Black. I loved this. I believe I gave it 5 stars. Let's look. Yeah, I gave The Wicked King 5 stars. This is the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition. If any of you guys were wondering why my edition is black and most of them are white, I believe. So yeah, I really enjoyed this. I gave it a lot of little tabbies. I was supposed to be doing a live show for it, but none of us really could find time to all do it together. So we didn't end up doing it. I don't know if we will. So, I mean, stay tuned. But yeah, though it was really good. It wasn't what I expected though. I will say that. So I'm gonna try not to spoil the first book for you when I talk about this, so yeah, let's just get in. So I was expecting a lot more steamy scenes between our 2 main love interest characters, which, I mean, you guys probably know who I'm talking about, but just in case you haven't read the book and haven't been spoiled at all, it's the 2 main love interest characters. I don't know. I was expecting just more from it because everyone had been talking about it on book Twitter, just saying like how scandalous it was and the things that they did, or like things like that, but there was really only 1 scene and it wasn't even that steamy. I just wanted so much more out of it because I was expecting it. After The Cruel Prince, I wanted that. And The Wicked King gave me a little bit. It gave me like a hint of it, which is good because at the end of the day, this is sort of an enemies to hate lovers. I don't even want to call them lovers because they don't really love each other, but it is an enemies to lovers situation. It is very slow burn in a way. So I think that Holly Black is giving us just enough. That is why it's still 5 stars in my opinion. I just wanted more just because I'm used to Sarah J Maas, and as we all know, Sarah J Maas is basically the queen of smutty YA. So yeah, I did expect more, but I did really like where this story took us. We did get to see another side of the fairy world. We got to understand more about the laws of nature in the fairy world, and we get a little bit more of politics and just what Jude is going through. Jude's mind has changed so much since The Cruel Prince. She is very much, I don't want to say out for herself, but because she isn't. She really isn't out for herself. She wants to protect everyone, and she is just trying so hard to keep it all together. She needs to keep everything together. She is in control of so much. She has so much responsibility, and I respect her so much. I love Jude. I learned to love her even more in this book. I already loved her in The Cruel Prince. I've heard that people don't like Jude, which is not something I'd ever heard because Jude's great. Jude's fantastic. She's doing her best, guys, and she is a badass. She's an absolute badass. She isn't your typical female lead. She isn't soft. She isn't trying to get people to like her. She is quite the opposite. She is hard, and she wants everyone to know that she is hard as steel and she isn't gonna break, and she is kind of mean, and I love it. She isn't a perfect person. All the characters in this story are morally gray, and I personally really enjoy it. So I do actually like The Wicked King more than The Cruel Prince. I just feel like we get a better understanding of our characters and how they feel and what's actually going through their heads. So yeah, if you had some issues with The Cruel Prince, I would still maybe recommend going on to The Wicked King and seeing how you feel from there. It is still pretty terrible. There's a lot of terrible things that happen in this, and there's a lot of backstabbing and treachery and just typical Fae shenanigans. So then the next book that I read is actually one that I had no intention of picking up, and it just happened and I loved it a lot. And that's actually Sky in the Deep by Adrienne Young. I listened to this on audio. I really had wanted to read this when it first came out. I was so intrigued by it, just like Viking mythology and Viking time periods sort of melded in with fantasy, but for whatever reason I couldn't get myself to pick it up. And I finally found it on audio and was like, you know what, let's just do it. And I listened to it in one day, I'm pretty sure. It was so good, in my opinion. I think that the audiobook really worked for me. I loved the narrator. I think she did a very good job with the voices and just a very good atmosphere situation. A lot of you guys, by the way, have been asking for an audiobook recommendation video, and I'm working on it. I just feel like even though I have listened to quite a few audiobooks, I feel like I'm not ready yet to make an audiobook recommendation video, so we'll see when it comes, but I am working on the list, so yeah, just a side note. This does follow a girl who is a Viking. She's a warrior. She's fierce and strong, and she's very loyal to her clan. And one day when she's at war with one of their rival clans, like the most rival clan that they have, she sees something very interesting. She sees her dead brother who had died in a war years ago, and he's fighting for the opposite clan. So obviously things happen and she just learns a lot. I think that it's a very touching story because it shows that there's just so much that happens. Like the kind of friendship that she finds in this story, the kind of redemption she finds in this story is very intriguing. How the clans work with each other is very intriguing, and seeing her see that maybe this clan that she hates so much is more similar to hers than she would have ever guessed is such a good touch. I really enjoyed this. I obviously gave it 5 stars. I think that the enemy in this is really cool, very interesting. I'm kind of still very confused about it, but whatever. It is sort of fantastical with that enemy. That enemy just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So if you've read it, then you kind of know what I'm talking about, because it's not really like they have magic powers, but like, do they? That was Sky in the Deep. I do recommend this. I know that it's gotten very mixed reviews, but I did really enjoy it, so I guess the audiobook is the way to go. The last book that I read this month in preparation for the finale that is coming up is Legendary by Stephanie Garber. So yeah, I actually listened to this one on audiobook as well because I listened to the first book on audio and I loved it. And my friend who has already read these books, she told me that she actually didn't like Legendary as much as she liked Caraval, and I was like, maybe audiobook is the way to go, because sometimes reading a book physically just doesn't give you the same feelings and emotions, and I have to say, reading Legendary through audio, the way to do it. I did give this book 4 stars, which I think is what I gave the first book. I did enjoy it. So I don't know how to describe this without spoiling anything in Caraval, but basically what you need to know is that we have a different main character. We have a different point of view in this one, and I do like this point of view. I think that it's pretty cool. I do prefer the one in Caraval though, and I'm really hoping that in Legendary it's both their perspectives. So I guess we'll see, but I don't even know how to describe this. Okay, So Caraval was magical. Magical in the way that it wasn't magical, because even though it was supposed to be this very magical game, it is still just a game. And the biggest point that Legendary had was this time it's not a game. That was it. That was like the entire point of the story, and it's very hard to see if it is a game or if they're just lying to you or if there is magic, and it's so interesting to try to find your own way around it. But I really enjoyed it. I think that she did a really good job. I think that the mythology that was included in this is very, very intriguing. The only thing, the reason that I docked a star off was because I wish that this mythology had been talked about in the first one. I feel like if this is such a big part of the world that they live in, it should have been mentioned more in Caraval. And maybe it was, and I just didn't notice it because obviously with audiobooks, you tend to miss some details. I might have missed it, but I don't think I did. I think that it was just randomly introduced in Legendary, and I don't love that for a book. I would rather have had this in the previous one. I feel like it almost made it feel as though Stephanie just thought of it randomly and she was like, oh my god, that would be such a good plot point. And which is cool, that's fine. I totally understand it when authors do that, but it would have been better if there had been Easter eggs in the first one, if you know what I mean. But overall, I really enjoyed the story. I think that it was done very well, and I'm very, very intrigued by the ending. There was just so many things that were added to the world in this book, and I can't wait to see how she ends it. There was just a lot of information. That's exactly what it is. Legendary has so much information that Caraval just didn't have. Caraval was such a mystery, while Legendary is kind of exploiting all of those mysteries. But yeah, I still really enjoyed it. Obviously, I give it 4 stars, but I don't know. Those are the 3.5 books that I read this month. I really enjoyed my reading month, and I'm praying that next month is even better. I feel like my life is finally starting to mellow out. I'm finally like getting a hang of this whole 2 jobs thing, but I guess we shall see. And yeah, I will see you in my TBR. Goodbye. Let's see what I rated it before, you know, I keep talking. What's it called? Why don't I just keep Goodreads open? That's what I should do. Oh yeah, that's a little spoilery. Doing thumbnails is so weird.
We're beautiful creatures.